right, you guys, we're now in Beverly Hills, and not just Beverly Hills, but at the very hilltop where the most expensive real estate lies. I mean, Beverly Hills alone is a very expensive area in Los Angeles, but this here is the creme de la creme. Am I right?
Yeah.
Can I start filming?
Start filming.
Okay.
We're visiting Karan Khanna, an Indian who moved over to the U.S. and racked up his first $1 billion here. Well, almost.
You know the difference between 900 million and 1 billion? 100 million. So even if you're 900 million, you're not a billion yet.
Karan started off as a waiter in a snack bar after moving from India to chilly Chicago in 1996.
I get my first job at McDonald's.
Welcome to McDonald's. May I help you?
And minimum wage, $4.65.
Now he's showing me his house at the summit of Beverly Hills, costing several dozen millions of dollars.
This house was designed in 1954 by Mr. Paul Williams. He was the same generation as Frank Lloyd Wright, which is a very, very famous architect. But Paul Williams has designed over 3,000 buildings in Los Angeles, making him the most amount of buildings built by any architect in LA, including Los Angeles Airport. LAX Airport was designed by Paul Williams. That's the ocean.
Yeah, over there.
It's a clear day. You can see Catalina. Those are the Malibu Hills. That's the Getty.
Paul Williams designed houses for many celebrities who lived in Beverly Hills till the 80s. This included Frank Sinatra and Lucille Ball. As a black man, and due to the segregation reigning over these parts at that time, Williams himself wasn't able to live here. More than that, he couldn't even sit on the same side of the table as his white clients, which is why he learned to sketch his blueprints upside down, making it convenient for his clients to inspect the drawings from the same spot without moving. Now his homes are a collector's item. Karan's mansion is literally crammed full of paintings, expensive antiques, and other works of art, as is customary in Beverly Hills. Karan himself frequents all of the wealthy, fashionable parties and can even, for instance, afford to close up the Versailles to take a photo of the Hall of Mirrors with no one in the background. This is a photo from a private party in a chic house.
The city of Los Angeles.
Wow. I could say that this is $1 million view, but I guess it's more than $1 million, yes?
Yes, much more.
Much more than $1 million view. Now, for $1 million view, you can buy nothing in LA.
You can't even look at Canyon.
Doghouse.
Doghouse is more.
How many years do you own this land?
I've been here for 7 years.
And during these 7 years, I guess prices are up.
Jump up.
Everything is very high. Yes, everything is gone up. But I want to show you something actually from here. You see this White House? Come back up. So when I came here from Newport Beach. I had a beautiful view of the ocean.
Yeah.
And I see this huge White House.
Yeah, over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's that? And is that a hotel? They're, no, that's a house. And like, whose house is that? And it's some guy called Eric Schmidt. He owns Harbor Freight Tools. And I'm like, how much is it? It's like $200 million. So I'm like, you know what? If this view is good enough for that guy, it's good enough for me. In May of '97, my brother, who's 5 years older than I am, he and I started our first company together. It was a software company. And you know how everybody writes apps these days? So we were writing software applications for very large companies. From there, from the basement, in 10 years, 97 to 2007, we grew it from 2 people to 1,400 employees, $0 in revenue to $119 million in revenue. We invented the current elections management and voter registration system that is being run in 32 of the 50 states in the USA.
Oh, so you can say for sure, is it rigged or not?
I can say for sure it's not rigged.
Okay.
The system is not rigged, but the people could be rigged. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's always the people that are corrupt, but the system is hard to manipulate. Anyway, we sold that company for $460 million in 2007, November, 40 days before the crash. And
So you were full packets of
packs of
cash.
money.
You could buy anything
Cash,
because
baby,
prices
cash.
collapsed. You were
so
lucky.
we were loving it. So we were in Oregon.
Karan was born into an Indian military family and lived in the cantonment of Ambala in India. He'd twice been denied an American visa and was already thinking about a career as a fishmonger in a local market.
And we get this huge packet from the United States Embassy, and it's addressed to my mom, Mrs. Mamta Khanna. And we open it, and it says, "Dear Mrs. Mamta Khanna, you, your husband, and your children under the age of 21 are welcome to the United States on a green card." And I'm like, "Mom, what is this?" Like, oh yeah, I applied in 1984. 12 years ago, I applied to move to the US.
Green card.
Yeah, and it came 3 months before I turned 21. Otherwise, if I was 21, game over for me.
Yeah.
I would still be in India, okay, in that fish market.
Yes. So you could choose any city you want.
Correct.
Why did you choose LA?
That's a very good question, and it's a very educated answer actually, because I have visited 48 countries. I've been to Mexico, just for example, 45 times. I've been to all the European countries over 20 times. And there's always a desire to, move and live in the romantic European countries like France or Italy or United Kingdom. But first of all, those are romantic cities, not practical cities, right? So when you live there, how are you going to get construction? The Italians don't really like to work, and the French and the French are, rude, and
Yeah.
the Indians are, like Mexicans. Nothing gets done, so you can't really live there. It's the best country still in the world to live in, I think, the United States. It's still the best country, I think, to work in, because when you make an agreement, if you make a handshake, it still is pretty valid, unlike in some other countries, like, for example, India or China. You make a handshake and you leave and the deal is over. You start the next day, you start it all over again. It's a brand new deal again. You say, well, yesterday you were going to sell it to me for $2. It's like, that was yesterday.
But okay, inside the USA, you could choose any city. You have New York,
Yes.
you have Chicago, you have Florida, the whole Florida.
Amazing. And to that I say, LA, there are two LAs, okay? One LA looks exactly like the other cities you just mentioned, which is lots of traffic, lots of commute, going to work or going to see your friends, which is very high rent or very high, and lots of people. But if you just make a slight left, you will see over there that I'm living in the biggest metropolitan in the world. I have no sound, no car highway, pin drop silence, right?
Yeah.
And yet I'm only 3 minutes away from the city. On top of that, I think the people of LA are very open to immigrants. What does that mean? Even the Americans that live in LA are mostly from other cities. So when you come here and when you move here, people are very open and open-hearted and welcoming. Oh, you're from New York. They're from New York. Or you're from India. They could be from France. So everybody is welcome here. Versus when you go further east, New York City, and you go to United Kingdom, France, India, it becomes more and more cliquey. These are my friends. These are my parents' friends. These are who I hang out with. So I think from a social standpoint, it's a very, very open city.
So guys, the beauty and well-kept appearance of Beverly Hills is simply difficult to put into words. It's just the perfect, rich area. I mean, picture how a flawless, wealthy, elite community should look. That is Beverly Hills. It really is like something out of a movie. I mean, how they show the luxury life in movies, that's Beverly Hills to a T. I mean, just check it out. Look at these huge trees, all trimmed back to perfection. The houses are absolutely beautiful. There's not a blade of grass out of place on these perfect lawns. But the main thing, look at these perfectly rulers straight palm trees. Not a single one of them has died. You see this? Or if they have, they replanted an equally large one. I mean, so it's always preserved in this ideal, picture-perfect form. There are signs like this everywhere. Warning, neighborhood watch in force. Well, naturally they're being watched. And they say, don't leave your things in the car, they can be stolen. So guys, I've never seen so many cameras in one place. Look, 1, 2 cameras there on the house, 3 more, 4, 5, 6 cameras. That whole house over there is simply dotted with cameras. That house over there is also covered in cameras. Here on each house, you can easily make out, I don't know, 10 to 15 cameras on one facade. And there, check it out, 1, 2, 3 cameras are hanging just on that corner of the house. A huge number of signs warning that houses are guarded. This house is protected by such and such. I have never seen anything like this anywhere, except maybe in China. 1 camera's on you over there, another 2 cameras are looking at you, and there 2 more cameras on you. There 1, 2, 3, 4 cameras, they're everywhere. It is amazing that Beverly Hills and China are equipped with cameras in roughly the same way. I don't know if you heard it or not, but that house directly told me, hello, you are in a video surveillance zone. There in the yard, look, someone has a really fancy car under the cover. It looks to be some kind of antique, judging by the wheels. In the yards here, if you take a peek, there aren't just a lot of expensive cars, but unusual old ones too. Some old Jaguars, Aston Martins, some collector cars in particular. So like, fair enough. I mean, you have a BMW in the front row, or some kind of sports Chevrolet. But if you look at a row back, you can see the noses of old, expensive collector's cars. Karan has several luxury cars in his garage, but his main pride and joy is this Indian Standard Herald, like his dad had.
Simple 4-cylinder engine, and this goes backwards. Check it out.
Wow, everything is original.
Everything is right there. Yeah, and original. And by the way, Rolls-Royce made this car specifically for my wife. As you can see, hand-built in Goodwood, England for President Khanna.
Yeah.
And the carpet is cash. You have to put the choke like the old days. Close it. Oh yeah, can you close it? Like from there. Yeah. And another side. Takes a little bit as the first thing in the morning. You let it this out. There we go.
This has gotten more expensive than this.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. It is just for soul. Yes.
This is for soul. My father bought it for $100 US back in the day, sold it for $100, and I had to buy it for $26,000. So this is a 1961. But all of this land used to belong to a Mr. Doheny, who found oil in California, in Southern California. So he was a billionaire, obviously, and this all was owned by Doheny from here all the way to West Hollywood. That's why it's called Doheny Road and Doheny Drive. And then he passed away in the 50s. The family kind of sold it all, and then the developers came in and started building their own homes. But this Doheny Road is, even in Beverly Hills, is considered the top status address.
Yeah.
Because there's Beverly Hills is divided into the flats, which is where the other homes are, which is no view, or the hills. So we are in the hills of Beverly Hills, and then as soon as we hit Sunset, on the south side are the flats. Not to say that homes on flats are not cheap either. Okay, they're very expensive.
Yeah.
But That's how kind of it's divided.
Los Angeles is called the city of movie stars, but even they can't always afford to live in Beverly Hills.
George Michael died. You can see his house from our house. You can see where Tom Cruise used to live from our house. And lots of, but again in Beverly Hills, only if you are a made star can you live here. So a lot of the movie stars who don't make hundreds of millions don't live here. They actually live in Studio City, or they live outside. It's really, really expensive. Beverly Hills was built as a suburb. Okay, so back in the day, this was something was created with palm trees which were flown in from Hawaii to get people to move away from LA to Beverly Hills. So everything that you're seeing, this actually LA is not supposed to have a single tree. We are still in a desert. So all of Southern California is a desert. This was planted to create this oasis in a desert to convince people from LA. Another thing most people don't know is that in all of the city of LA, only Beverly Hills is its own city. So West Hollywood, Bel Air, Hollywood, these are not their own cities. They're all city of LA.
Yes.
So if you live in West Hollywood, your address is actually Los Angeles.
Yes.
But Beverly Hills is its own incorporated city inside of the city of LA. So we have our own police, we have our own fire, we have our own postal service, everything is ours, okay?
And their own schools. Most of the kids living in these luxury houses go to regular LA schools. But since schools in the United States are funded by local taxes, mainly taxes on real estate, the schools in expensive areas are richer and therefore better equipped than the poor ones.
This is one of the public schools of Beverly Hills. This is what I was saying. They're so good, these schools. Look, right in the middle of Beverly Hills, and that's your school. 5 minutes from my house. Why would I put him
not the private schools.
half an hour, 45 minutes away in a private school?
So your son used to go to this school, yeah?
Yeah.
Do schools in Beverly Hills and in downtown LA differ?
Very much. Very much, yes.
Can you explain how do they differ? If they are public, they are paid by government, so
Yes.
salaries should be the same, aren't they?
Yes. So, first of all, I don't know if you've heard this expression that everything starts from the top.
Yeah.
So if you go to a nice restaurant, then that means that whoever the owner is, he thought of everything. He thought of the chef, he thought of the ambience, he told the waiters to be nice to you. You know, you get on an airline, the United people are shit. Right, they treat you like shit, they are shit, everything is shit. The food is shit, everything in United Airlines is shit. Sometimes at night I dream of how I can bankrupt United because they're that bad. You get on Delta, everything is great. It's the same country, it's the same people, but the food is better. Delta, they treat you better. If you have a problem, they care for you. Everything is better in Delta Airlines. Everything is shit in United Airlines. How come? It's, to answer your question, it starts at the top. So LA County, that runs the schools, they have this that if we are not going to treat one teacher better than the other, even if you're a better teacher, but we're going to keep you. If you're a bad teacher, we're going to keep you. Beverly Hills has issues. You know, they're trying to keep a good eye on good people, recruit good people, and teach good things. But the second more important thing is, kids in Beverly Hills are from Beverly Hills. So it's, again, I was saying the education just not necessarily, because listen, the tuition is the same, the books are the same. It's about the people in the school. So if you're going to school with like-minded people who are better educated, come from better educated families, you're going to have a better education. Problem with LA is we still have this issue, and I'm not saying it's a bad issue, it's an issue that needs to be concerned, that the kids that are coming around are kids from not very educated families, right? So the environment is different. So even if you put good teachers and good everything, what are you going to learn? That's why people like to go spend the extra money to go to Harvard. You see, because 50 years ago, the education you got at a certain school versus Harvard was very different. The books they had, the thinking they had, the professors they had were very different from, let's say, what you found in a small town college in the Midwest.
Yes.
But today, because of technology, the same professors are on YouTube.
Yeah.
And the same literature and the same, everything is available to everybody.
Yeah.
You still are going to Harvard because the kids that are going to Harvard are going to be smarter,
Yeah.
and hence you'll get smarter by hanging out.
Yeah.
May I ask you, if this question is too sensitive for you, you cannot reply. But for me, it is interesting. What do you think about, I would call it, sex education here in schools? I mean, in California, now they teach children that they can change their gender and so on. I don't know, if you don't want to reply to that, don't reply.
I'll reply with a scientific answer. The issue is not about the education, it's about intent, right? If the intent was correct, then of course you should teach people, like for example, in India, they don't teach kids about sex education at all. And they don't teach girls about, let's say, women issues.
Yeah.
So when the first time it happens, all these girls, even my wife that I know, went through a psychological trauma that, now the puberty is starting, and for boys also puberty is starting, and they don't know how to deal with it. So I think when the intent is to educate a child, and then you put in place these policies or this education, it makes sense.
Yeah.
When the intent is something political, and not keeping the child in mind, I think that's where the problem happens. We should be taught to be accepting of all classes, of all races, of all genders, but to teach them that you should be able to change your gender at age in 7th or 8th grade, I think that's blasphemy.
But when in your school to your son, they told that he can choose his gender, whether he's gay or not, what was his reaction?
Honestly, thankfully, and that's one of the things about Beverly Hills system that never happened in our school. But I know.
So it doesn't happen in Beverly Hills schools.
I
it's
I will double check, but I don't think he never came home.
No.
But I have my brother's son, who lives in Portland, Oregon, and goes to a semi-private school where 5 children, boys and girls, have chosen to be cats. And so they drink out of milk out of a bowl. This is absolute truth. This is not a story that I heard. This is directly from my nephew.
Yeah.
And they even put cat litter so they can take a crap in a big human-sized cat litter. But when it got there, that's when the parents said, okay, this is too much, so they took it out.
I'm on my shine. I've been really getting feel. You know why I'm here. Don't act like you don't know how I feel.
This is my wine fridge. Everything I keep close to me. All my alcohol.
I thought that it is a fridge, but it is a wine fridge.
Look, even my Mouton Rothschild is from 1976.
That's the year Karan was born. Alcohol is his latest obsession. Karan has started making tequila and is really into it, so much so that he keeps photos in his kitchen of the agave he uses to make the drink. He's trying to convince me that tequila can taste like wine.
Before we taste, can you tell me how much is this bottle?
This is going to be $800.
$800.
Yes.
For a liter of tequila.
For 750
750.
Yes.
Ребята,
So guys, tequila that costs $800 per bottle.
let's try.
Oh, it has a very delicate aroma.
Tequila, it's not like strong alcohol, it's more like wine or...
Wow, a really pleasant woody aroma with maybe added cherry. Basically, it's very, very delicate, and it's not at all like strong alcohol. I'm gonna try it.
Ребята,
Guys,
это самое...
this really is the most unusual tequila I've ever tried in my life.
Она одновременно...
It's both strong and soft all at once,
И у неё столько...
and it has so many different flavors. I mean, they just spill out into your mouth.
Tell me, how Indian IT guy started making tequila?
So I was actually not an Indian tech guy. I barely finished college, barely. 45, 50%, I think, C minus student. And I came here to the US And my brother said, let's start a tech company. That's how we got started. But at the same year, in December of 1997, just him and I, we're best friends. I was 21, he was 26. We fly to Napa Valley. And we go to this place called CIA, Culinary Institute of America.
Yeah.
And we have our first real good meal in we just started making money. I was making, before that I was making $6 an hour. And in my tech company, I was making $60 an hour. So now we have money and my brother's making $200 an hour. Okay, what do we do? So we look up, back then there was no internet and there was just this guide. And you look in the guide and it's okay, CIA. And there we got this first Kent Rasmussen and Paul Hobbs Pinot Noir and Cabernet. And we were like, what the fuck is this, right? This is some decent, good wine. And we're in Napa. The romance is there. I don't know if you spent, but you must go to Napa. Uh-huh. Very romantic city, valley. So from there, we started this journey.
Love this breakfast for champions.
Yeah, we had a good breakfast today.
Guys, I am now a tequila man.
I think it was the first time when multimillionaire was my cameraman. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and thank you for this breakfast.
This is our regular reposado,
which
is 6 months, and then the other 5.5 months it's aged in French wine casks from Bordeaux. So you're gonna taste something that is very unique. My son is 16 years old, he turned in March, and he's always gone to public school. Since he was elementary school, middle school, because I want him to have a taste of what real life is going to be. I feel that a lot of parents, they protect their children from what is out there. But what they're not understanding, that the day they turn 18 and they go to college, they're in that world. So it's like throwing a child into a swimming pool without ever teaching them how to swim. So by keeping them safe now, you're actually creating a huge problem for them in the future. As much as I can, I take him to India every year. He sits on the buckets and he eats the same food that I ate. I need him to know where we came from. So I felt that for 11th grade and 12th grade, by staying in the same house with us, there was nothing more to expand his mind. So I sent him, his first 10 days were, it's a school called Colorado Rocky Mountain School in Carbondale, which is near Aspen. And the first 10 days were 40 new kids in school, 6 different camps. You have to carry your own stuff at 9,000, 10,000, 11,000 feet above sea level. Carry your own stuff, your own food, your own water, kitchen for the camp, food for the camp, and your own tent, everything. 85 to 100 pounds every day for 12 days. Mm-hmm. That's your introduction to the school. Now he's already done the hardest part.
Now many people here in LA tell me that LA is not the same as it used to be like 10 years ago. Too many problems, too many homeless and so on, and people go away from Los Angeles.
I don't know how to answer that properly, because if you go back 10 more years ago, there was the fights with there were people killing each other on the streets, and so I think every town goes through their ups and downs. It's where you are on that journey. This crime was always happening. LA was considered the most criminal city in the world only 25 years ago. South Central was happening, USC shootings. It's just news, and I don't know. I don't think so. I think I'm never leaving LA. I think this is the best city though.